Hello everybody, Everlast here, former rank 1 Vi and almost Grandmaster for an entire season. Quite impressive actually, to be that close and not get it. But regardless, today I'm going to talk about my impression of the new season. Season 14. I've been enjoying most of the changes actually. It's been a lot more variation and just changes in general makes everything exciting. So I'm going to be talking about like how this all has been affecting Vi specifically, but also like generally your game plan, how everything has been affected like macro-wise. So let's start there. So the introduction of Grubs is very interesting. It makes so the game is much faster now. You have to play more directly towards objectives. You don't have all this time between like dragons and then the herald in like 4 or 5 minutes and then back to the dragon. You don't have the same amount of time. You have to play much quicker because if the enemy jungler is quick on his feet and just grabs the objectives on spawn, you're just going to be left behind. What to notice about Grubs, it's not like massively important, but make sure you get 1 or 2. That's usually what I aim for, or if I can pick up all 6, I will pick up all 6, especially if you have like a split pusher who can really abuse it, or like a good siege kind of team. Grubs is going to be really important. So, and also one thing to keep in mind is that like the first grub you pick up, you're gonna get a lot of XP, but the next one on the spawn is not gonna almost give you any XP. So maybe if you have time, just pick up one, smite it, leave. If you don't really have prio, you're kind of scared of the other jungler, that's a great option because you're gonna get a lot of free XP towards level 6, and you're just gonna deny the big buff for the enemy team so they don't pick up all 6. So in general, it's been getting way hard to gank, and I don't mind it, to be honest. A lot of junglers has been abusing laners for a long time now, especially junglers like Rek'Sai, Shinzao, Lee Sin, this kind of stuff, you'll know it. So it makes it way harder, but the thing is that Vi usually wants to gank around levels like ultimate, so ganks aren't really that much harder. Like you find less ganks that you can find with your Q, but your ult like kind of saves you because you have a higher limit on your ganks. Like you have so much gap close, it doesn't really matter. So when you really want to go for a gank with your ultimate, you're gonna get it regardless in this new meta. So I don't mind it too much. It doesn't nerf Vi in the same way as a lot of junglers, so I'm happy about that. And but generally you want to focus your ganks more towards bot lane now because it's easier to gank bot lane actually, but it's way harder to gank mid and top. So unless you have good setup in these lanes, you're mostly gonna look for like counter ganks or lane ganks.
Word you're looking for is anyway.
Anyways, lane ganks is way better. I've been always liking these, and especially counter ganks. It's so powerful with Vi, so you want to look for these regardless. So in general, the game has been a bit faster with objectives, which benefits Vi. She likes to play objectives. She takes them real fast with W. So overall, I think Vi has been getting slightly stronger, and she has less weaknesses in my opinion with the items. So let's just talk about the items because I know you're all excited about it, and so am I. So it's my favorite part. So I'm just gonna rank like generally her items and kind of compare them to how they were last season. So let's just start. As you can see here, this is not really Merc Dress. I couldn't find a new MR item which gives you a shield based on your max HP. So I'm just going to use this, so just keep that in mind, okay? So this new MR item, which looks an awful lot like Merc Dreads, is very strong. It's very good for Vi because none of them really fare quite well because the Force of Nature kind of needs time to stack up to get the MR, but Vi kind of wants all the stats she can get up front in the fight because she plays really fast, right? She doesn't really bait out abilities, throw pokes. She's just in there and she wants all the stats right away. So you have that with these items, which is great. So this is just awesome tank item. I don't build that much tank, but if you're going into a more tanky route, this is a very good item for Vi. Great addition. So, what's this called? So yeah, Abyssal Mask before the season end was kind of your go-to because Spirit Visage, you don't really get all that good value unless you had like Sunder and you had this, an Enchanter on your team, which would make Spirit Visage good. Then it was just Abyssal Mask, but it doesn't really, it wasn't really that great on her. It just was better than the other Magic Resist items. So I'm just gonna put this in situational because you have a lot of Magic damage on your team. You can really help them out with the curse passive. So I'm gonna keep it as a situational, but in general the new MR item is just gonna be the go-to MR unless you go into like Wits and Maw, etc. So Thormail, pretty much the same. A lot of auto attackers. I'm not gonna talk too much about it. It's the exact same, the same spots. Healing reduction and good against basic attackers. So Iron Solari is really great for Vi. If you play more of a supportive or a tank build and you want to play a lot of team fights or you play against like a Karthus, Fiddlesticks, now you can actually buy Iron Solari, what you couldn't last season because you would have to make it your mythic and it was just never worth. So this is really great. It's obviously buffed for Vi, so I'm just going to keep it there. Sunfire, I don't see you ever buying this item anymore. So this is just not necessarily a nerf for Vi, but it's just other better options in my opinion. And Sterak's, it's pretty much the same. It's a good item, but I need to do more research, and so should you. But it's a good item, worth doing more of. So Frozen Art is just super buffed. It's a great item. Not much more to say about it. It got cheaper, so you get the passive faster. The passive is what the item is all about. You don't care about the extra armor if you're playing against Jaxes, Masties, Veins, all this kind of stuff, Kindreds. It's just gonna do a great job. So the fact that it's cheaper makes it way better because you just want to get the item, like get the passive from the item and just move on to the next item, which gives you something else. So I would like to say this is buffed Iceborne Gauntlet because when you used to go it last season, you missed out on other stuff. So even though the Triforce is better, I'm going to talk about it later, I still think this is a good change for Vi if you need stick.
I'm really strong and I'm sticky.
And you're going more as a supportive build, a tanky build. This is now better because you have more options in general, so you don't get limited by going Iceborne Gauntlet. So then we're on to Jackstraw Protein, which is but for Vi because of the same reasons really. If you went this last season, you got very limited and you lost out on a lot of great items like Eclipse, Triforce, Sunder, etc. So this is just great because this you can fill in later into a build when you have more resistance. It's not like a great synergy with Vi because, as I talked about earlier, you want the stats right away, but with these items it's more of like it stacks up and then it gets powerful. So it's fine, but it's more of a like third, fourth, or even fifth item in my opinion, and it's more to supplement. But the reason it's still good is because it's just an overstated item in my opinion for now. So even though it doesn't have great synergy with Vi, it's still a great item. So let's talk about Titanic Hydra. I think this is very interesting. It's definitely better, but I'm gonna still, so you can say it buffs, but I'm gonna keep it in worth trying. I think I need to test this more because a problem with Hydra now, a lot of people are rushing it because it's not a stacking effect anymore, so it doesn't have the same scaling, but you can buy it right away and you get the auto reset and it does a lot of damage. The problem I've found with this season on Vi, or not a problem, but you need to think about it, is cooldown reduction. And you get 0 cooldown reduction from Titanic Hydra, which is a bit of a problem and why I don't recommend buying this first item. So it's more of a second, third, or fourth item or later in the bruiser type of build with Triforce and Black Labor or whatever, but a bruiser build. Also, Vi, a big part of the reason you get this item is because it gives you an auto reset, which is really powerful in a lot of champions, like Jin Zhao, for example, which gets an auto reset on one of his Q stacks, which is why it's such a meta in the meta right now. But Vi has auto resets on her E, and she doesn't really need more of them. It's nice to get in more autos, but it's not like a major difference maker. Which is why I think it needs more testing, and it's not as great as many people think. Camp Punk just gonna be a situational anti-heal item. Same it was with Sand, the same. I think you can almost say it's worse, just because it's worse than the other items, in my opinion. Why this could be good last season is because it gave you attack speed, which you didn't get from a lot of items, but now you have some items that actually gives you attack speed, which makes this kind of useless and or like waste of stats, in my opinion, and why it's not as great. I think you're better off going stuff like more tanky MR items. So yeah, it's situational, but in general, I'm not recommending with Zen this season. Stridebaker, yeah, this is just nerfed. I'm just gonna put this nerf to it because you're not gonna wanna buy these items. So yeah, it's not like it's super bad or anything. It's just not better than other items. Not gonna wanna buy them. So this is very interesting. It got changed. This is a little bit different. You get less haste and you get the movement speed, which is slightly different than before. But you get less armor shred than before also. So I think this is nerfed in general on Vi. This used to be like a super great item. I think it's worse, and also because we have other options now, which I think is better. But if you need armor shred and you're not gonna go into like Lord Dominic's or Cyrilla because you need more of that tanky bruiser stuff, and also your team has a lot of AD damage and you want to shred and help your team, it's a great item, but it's slightly nerfed. So I guess I can leave it there, and it's good. It's like situational, worth trying. I think it's good, but it's not like absolute S plus tier, which it was last season in my opinion. Death Dance, don't buy this. It's not worth. You just have better items now, and it's never worth buying this item. If you're gonna buy like anti-burst, anti-assassin, this kind of item, you're just gonna go GA, which is just a better item. So it's a situational item, but you never go Death Dance over a Guardian Angel. The only exception is that if you like steamroll a game, you just want the stats all the time. But regardless, you just want to protect your bounty with the Guardian Angel. So unless it's like the very bad into many of the champions, like you play against the Caitlyn, you play against Lux, you play against Zera and Nivea, stuff that like makes the Guardian Angel less valuable because they kind of counter it, then it's worth thinking about. But still, I just don't see anyone. I don't see Death Dance being worth buying this season. So onto the crit items, which is quite interesting because I used to be building lethality into crit. Even season 10 to 13, I was building lethality into crit Vi. So this is quite interesting. Now you're able to do it again because the mythics are gone. So I like that. Collector is just buffed. It got slightly nerfed again, but it's still better than it was because lethality is buffed. So even though they bumped up the gold again, it doesn't really matter. It's a great item, but we have other lethality items now, which doesn't make it like the absolute best lethality item. It's a good item again. But Dominic's very situational. It's the same as it was. Not much to talk about. You can go it if you go into like a lethality into crit build, but they have a lot of armor. LDR is good. I've also done like Black Labor in these sorts of build before, but LDR is absolutely good. Essence River is pretty much the same. The problem I have with it is that Triforce is better, so unless you go into like a heavy created build, I don't think this is worth buying. I even think it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna go into too much detail because I'm gonna do another video when I have more info and I'll truly learn how the items works and what is best. So I'm gonna make a guide how to build. But for now, I'm just gonna keep it as a situational item. It's pretty much the same as it was, but other items that's gotten better, so it's not like insane. And it wasn't really all that great at the end of last season, so there's that. If you go into a crit build, Quick Blitz is good. I used to buy it a lot before because what is really great about Quick Blitz is that you can do Q auto E into R auto E, and then you can do Q again, which is actually very strong. So this is the reason to do Quick Blades over Infinity Edge, even though it's a little bit less damage in your upfront burst. But I think this is just worth in general to get this instead of Infinity Edge if you go into like a crit or lethality into a crit build, which can work, but I haven't done enough testing, so I can't say too much about it but I think it's viable. Not necessarily the best build, I don't think so. I think it's a bit too expensive, but I think it's a fine build. Armorglaive, the same as before. It's a good item. Just D-ward, go zombie ward is going to be great. It's more of a, if you have that playstyle, go for it. It's a good item. Edge of Night, same thing. It's a good item. It's sort of like counter item to if you play more of an assassin or a like quite damage heavy bruiser build. It's good into stuff that can catch you, or like into Vayne, for example, to not have to condemn. You can actually 1v1 her quite easily, or against like Lux hook champions, which can just catch you off, catch you, or like anti-engage abilities into like stuff like Janna. She can't just tornado you, which is very good. So this is a good item. It's situational. Serpent's Fang, great item, situational, anti-shield. Everybody knows it. Yomus. It's pretty much the same. It's a good item. Not much more to say. If your ult is very valuable, it's worth thinking about in the second or third item. Opportunity. What a fun item. I love this. It's not like great, but it's a very good item and it's worth trying way more because I think it's quite good. I think it's better than all of this. It's very good for Vi. You want all your stats up front, which is what this brings. You have the lethality from the first 3 seconds of combat, and also you have the escape, which Vi doesn't really have. So, because you get the bonus speed when you get a takedown. So you can kind of go in first and then move out of the way quite a bit, wait for your next Q, and then you can go back in. So, great item, a lot of fun, but it doesn't give any CDR, which is a bit of a problem this season. So there's that, if worth thinking about. But if you have enough CDR or other CDR items, this is a great buy. Hubris. I think this is good if you know you're gonna snowball, or if you look at the lobby, it's gonna be very explosive, a lot of kills. You can rack up this quite fast, or like if you're better than your opponents, it's actually a good item. It does a lot of damage. So it got buffed. It's a good item. It needs more trying. I think it's good, but I think there is better options, in my opinion, than Hubris. But if you know you're gonna snowball, you know there's gonna be a lot of kills. It's a good item. Voltric, very interesting. I really do like this item. At the end of the season, I enjoyed going Prowler's Claw, which is what this kind of replaces, but even better. So this is a good item. It has CDR, it has lethality, it has a lot of AD, and your Q into the slow is very good. So, and you also stack it quite fast up with your ultimate and like more Qs. And it does a lot of damage. Biggest power spikes, one item is Voltric, so definitely very good. It needs a little bit more testing, but I like this item. Ghost Blade, it's just a great item. I did really well with it at the end of last season. What is slightly problematic this season is that you don't get TDR from Yomus, but it's such a good solo queue item if you enjoy going and playing lethality. So this first or second item is really great. Make sure you go Lucidity boots most of the time, unless like some other boots are very important in that specific game. You should be going Lucidity boots and probably Transcendence to get that TDR compensated for. Then Profane. It needs more trying. It's situational. I would say it's more of a very late game item. It's very interesting in that it resets your auto attack. I have made a video where I tested it on PvE, where I kind of talked more about it. I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's interesting. It resets your auto. That's all you need to know. It's quite expensive, so I won't recommend it as a core build, but it can be added like later in into the build if you're fed. Sojin. It's actually quite a good item. It needs more testing in my opinion. It's definitely worth trying. I did quite a bit of testing on like target damage and stuff, and it didn't do like great damage, but it was fine. If you go a Bruce build, I think there are better champs to abuse this item, but it's pretty good. It's not one of the best items, but it's a good item. Cyrilla, very situational. If you're not going into crit build, and if they don't have like tons of HP, Cyrilla is a great item to catch people, stick on people, and get tons of armor shred if you don't feel like you need the tankiness from Black Cleaver. More, still just a really good item. I don't know what more to say. It's the same as before. It's a good item. Not much more to say. Hexblade. It's like, I could put this in great. It's kind of in between. I think it needs more testing. I did play it quite a bit in the beginning, and I had success with it, but the more I played, I'm kind of moving away from it. I'm not gonna lie, but that might also be because of my playstyle, because I rely less on my ultimate and more on high damage builds, which I can fight quite often, and this is not what this brings. It's more of a, you play around the ultimate, then you're very strong and you can stick on people and really win a lot of fights. But I think it needs more testing. I think it's a really good item, but it's not like the absolute best, even though it's good in my. This item is bonkers. I don't know what to say. It's just way too OP. I didn't think it was going to be great jungle. It's just very strong. It's more of a, it's actually one of the highest win rate builds, or like items as well. Even first, second, and third. It's quite strange. It's more of a teamfight item, but it's very good in skirmishes. I don't know what more to say. It gives you HP, it gives you haste, it gives you the sustain and the damage, and I'm gonna talk about it at the end, but there is something that is worth mentioning, but it's gonna be easier to talk about now. So, Eclipse. This item, oh my god, it's a beauty.
Ted, I think I'm in love.
It's just better. It's better than before. The reason for it, because it doesn't limit you in any way. And also, what is so great is on Vi, really it's like heavy AD. It's just super valuable on Vi because you have such great bonus AD scalings, or just AD scalings in general. So even though you don't have lethality anymore, it doesn't really matter because you get such a high reward for a high damage, or like heavy AD builds. So you don't really lack any damage, and it's just so much cheaper. It's so great. It's such a great first and second item. You can always buy this item into the late game, but first, second, and third, I've been going this first and second very much, and it's felt so powerful. You do so much damage, and yeah, that's that. Triforce, just great. It's way better. It used to be like you have to stack up the auto attacks to get value from it. It's not like that anymore, and that comes back to Vi needs all the stats you can get at the beginning of the fight, because so much of your damage is in the first auto attacks and the Q which initializes it. You don't need to stack up AD, you need your AD at your Q because it's your high scaling damage ability. So this is just so much better now. It's a Rush, Triforce or Eclipse. I've been going both. It's probably what I feel are the strongest right now for me personally. The thing about Vi, it's so playstyle dependent. So I don't want to say like you have to go Triforce Eclipse every game. I don't think it's the best every game for me either, because you have to adapt to every game. But what I will say is Triforce and Eclipse are my favorite items right now. So Ghostblade and Opportunity probably. But this Sunder Sky, or what it's called, is also very great. And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about, which is you can run a page with Ingenious Hunter because there are so many items now which has passive cooldowns or actives, which gonna make Ingenious Hunter like insane value, because your Triforce gets value from it because you can get your Spellblade or whatever, the Sheen proc more often with your E, with your R, with your combos and stuff. You're gonna get in probably some more where you would miss it before. You're not gonna miss it. And Eclipse goes from like 6-second cooldown to 4 or even like 3.5 if you run Inspiration and Ingenious Hunter. If you run like Halo Blades with Cosmic Insight and Magical Footwear, this is so good. I'm telling you, if you go like Triforce or Eclipse first item, I've been going Eclipse first item into Triforce, and then I've been going Sunder Sky because it's kind of like the same as Eclipse, right? 6-second proc, but you can proc it on multiple people, and in teamfight it's such a high value. And if you go Ingenious Hunter, it's so good. Like, you lose Relentless Hunter, which kind of sucks, but it's worth it. It's very good. I really recommend you trying it at least. See what you think. To me, it's very good. It's very damage heavy, so make sure you play around that. You can't just go in like normally and like frontline be the first one to go in. You have to play according to your build, but it's a very strong build. It's my favorite build so far, because I'm gonna make a how to build guide this as soon as I get everything dialed down. So thank you all for watching in the end. Hit the sub button, hit the like button if you did enjoy the video. I'm gonna make more of these, more guides in general and items. And if you haven't noticed, I'm sure you have, I got a new sign from my friends, so shout out to them. I'm really happy about it. I think it looks great. I'm really enjoying the new items and all you can do. Don't like look at this and you have to go into like Eclipse, Triforce, Sunder Sky every game. I think it's one of the strongest. If you don't know what to build, try it. But there's so much to test. There's so many combinations, so don't like take my word for granted and just focus on that. But really test stuff, see what suits you. So there's that. Go smash it. See ya. Bye.